Hello and welcome to today the news of Vanguard Live. My name is Dablola Ogunshaki, and this morning I'm starting with Vanguard on the paper review. Vanguard is leading with PDP leadership tussle. Wike governors clash as police fire tear gas. Turaki Mohammed seek international help to save opposition. Wike stays in his vehicle as police rain tear gas. Turaki postpones PDP and WC meeting to today. Says Nigeria's democracy in grave danger. You can see that story on page 8 of Vanguard newspaper. And on page 5, Shatima adds to Kebbi as Tinubu vows rescue of kidnapped students, condemns killing of General Uba. How my husband was killed by bandits. That's coming from Vice Principal's wife. On page 29, we have Nigeria's external reserve rises to $46 billion, highest in 7 years. Reps seek to lower eligibility age for governors, senators to 30. Above the banner on page 19, Nigeria, 19 countries at high risk of debt distress. That's coming from IMF. Afe Babalola to NUC, clamp down on illegal varsities. Beavers ended Volta impersonation, but network gaps persist. That's coming from INEC chairman. Christian Association of Nigeria insists there's Christian genocide in Nigeria. You can see that on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. Away from there, we'll move to the Punch. The Punch is leading with Kebbi school kidnap, survivors relieve night of horror. Hostel staff, slain VP's family, others share chilling accounts. Parents weep. You can see that story on page 5. High stakes face off. PDP governors resist Wike secretariat takeover. Chaos as police tear gas PDP chieftains. Makinde Bala Turaki Wike clash. You can see that story on page 2. Missing FRSC officer daughter feared killed by Oshun herbalist. You can see that on pages 4 and 5. On page 3, reps probe foreign interest in Edo Museum. Top banner on the page 29. FX reserves to $46.7 billion 7-year high. You can see that on page 28. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, United Nations discuss U.S. envoy Nicki Minaj decry killings in Nigeria. You can see that story on page 7. And now let's move to The Guardian. The Guardian major headline says fears of one party drift intensify as PDP crisis worsens, turned violent. Biafra lobbied network fueling the Christian genocide campaign in the United States. You can see that on newspaper 3. Internet users suffer global disruptions and prolonged glitches. Reps probe oil sector, anchor borrowers' funds, and abandoned properties. News page 4 as a story. Lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, United Nations world leaders demand faster action on the Paris Agreement. You can see that on newspaper 3. And lastly, the nation's major headline says factions in fierce battle to control PDP headquarters. Police fire tear gas, Wike at hand to back Ironwood Group. Makinde Bala on ground for Toraki camp. Ironwood camp suspends 3 governors and others. That story it's on the front page as it continues on page 2. Why I parted ways with Wike by Makinde. You can see that also on the front page. 44 hours of reps. Members ask the president to order Nnamdi Kanu's release. And top banner, news page 7, foreign reserves in 7 years high at $46.7 billion. Tinubu urged for South Africa, Angola to attend G20's Leaders Summit, African Union, European Union meeting. You can see that on page 3. Christian Association of Nigeria's Christians targeted killings claim faulty. Sands, ex-VC, others disagree. You can see that on the front page, and it continues on page 26 of the Nation newspaper. That's all we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Just after the break for a brief analysis of some of the stories with our guest. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is today the news of Vanguard Live. My name is Damola Ogunshaki. And joining me to analyze some of the stories on the front pages this morning is Mr. Gbero Olajubi, the Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Good morning, Mr. Gbero.
Good morning.
All right, there was pandemonium at the national headquarters of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Abuja yesterday after police operatives they deployed tear gas to disperse the clashing supporters of rival party faction. Now, what is your initial assessment of the clash at the PDP headquarters yesterday?
Well, let me generally say that we have an extremely insensitive political class that can't read the mood of the nation, that can't be sensitive to whatever is going on in the country. At times, even though I struggle to deny the fact that Trump referred to us as a disgraced country, but what happened? Is it not a confirmation of that? I'm not even talking of even the shenanigan that went on in the PDP headquarters. The fact that they could not even postpone the meeting. A nation that has just lost a commander, a field commander, Brigadier General Uba, and we have 26 schoolgirls have just been kidnapped. Should anything has happened at all in terms of meeting? Not to talk of the high score that we saw there. The same thing happened to APC that was receiving the campees in Kogi State. Just the very day, the soldier was killed and the children were kidnapped, including the killing of the vice principal, and the rampant killings across the country. It's a shame what we saw. But going back to the PDP, I think there's need for President Tinubu to call Wike to order. Causing disruption, destruction, and of course, shamelessly polluting the democratic space of Nigeria. Enough is enough. And in my submission this year, in what I've sent out this today, and of course, I'm getting it across to the president. This is not the time President Tinubu should be joking. As a matter of fact, it's urgent. He should urgently dissolve his cabinet, remove the dead wood, as I call them, those that are causing reputational risk to his presidency. He should discuss with them, form a new cabinet that is, in my description this morning, that is what I call wartime cabinet, that is a political, that can understand the mood of Nigeria, the problem of Nigeria, and committed to solving them. Not all this shenanigans that we are seeing. It's unfortunate that we have this character in our political space. It's not a political party that we want to see now. We want to see governors, real governors, stopping the persistent or relentless flow of blood across our country. Look at what happened at CAC Church in Kwara State.
Okay, Mr. Guerrero, we'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Yes,
we'll talk about that.
I'm saying it because they are connected.
Yes.
If those who are expected to solve problem are fighting, causing chaos, creating crisis all over the country, where are they going to solve such problem? So they are connected, they are interwoven, and it is the failure of governance to address all these things that leads to the other one that we will soon talk about, as you have said.
Okay, you mentioned earlier that the president should, call Wike to order based on what is happening in PDP. But the president and Wike, the minister Wike, they are of two different parties.
They are not two different factors. He appointed Wike to an APC government, and Wike causing disruption and disaster in the opposition. Let me clearly state, a democracy that has no opposition is bound to collapse. It's as simple as that. If we had wanted a democracy that is a one-party state, then why did we chase the military away? We would have been comfortable with that. Look, a governing party that is destroying opposition is just like they are just like monkeys that is happy that the farmer is cutting down the trees, not realizing that it is his own house that is being demolished. So we should be logical, we should be sensible. It's President Tinubu that can call him to order if it's not the one using him. What type of country are we creating? What of leadership are we demonstrating and displaying, even to the younger generation? This is annoying. It's not only Nigeria that we have party system, a democracy. Things are not done like this. What type of impunity is this? If you are aggrieved about what has happened within your political party, then you can approach court. If you approach court and there is still deviance, then you approach court again to enforce the order, if there is any order. Court, you can't resort to self-help. That is the essence of rule of law. You don't resort to self-help.
Looking ahead realistically, how can they resolve the issues in PDP? With the likes of Wike, Sheyi Makinde, all of them supporting the different factions in PDP. How can they resolve it? Will the courts? Will mediation? Or what do you think will solve it?
The court is not. The court should be the arbiter, but the court in Nigeria, is it the arbiter? There is scandalous what our court has become in the hands of politicians. Very, very scandalous. Nobody trusts Nigerian court. Okay? Is that how to build democracy? You demolish institution, you destroy institution, you trap institution, you connive with institution to frustrate administration of justice. How long are we going to go with that? And that is the more reason people are resorting to self-help. Our court has become joke in the hands of politicians. You get your order injunction, I get my injunction from even a coordinate court. Is that how system works? The court administration, the court itself has been compromised across the country. That is why it is easier for a politician, very easy for them to enjoy your right, assert your person, and ask you to go to court. Because they know you are not going to get justice because it's in their pocket.
All right, we have the likes of Taraki Mohammed. They seek for international help. And what's your take on this?
If we need international help, it is not to save the politician. Our international help is to even remove the unruly politicians, all of them put together. Not in a very violent way, but in a way that will retire them. And we have a democracy that is peaceful, that is joyful, that is beneficial to the entire populace. It's not his call is uncalled for. Let me say that. If we have to call external intervention now, it's to help us save our country from being from collapsing, from total collapse. We need international help.
Well,
now
you called
enable secretary.
Well, he called on President to save the democracy.
Because the fail. It cannot. That is the meaning. That it can no longer protect its citizen. It cannot ever adjudicate over his bank. That it can no longer solve problem. A state is a place defined by territory with population, legal territory, legal boundaries with other countries or with waters or with other landmass that has government. And that government is effective in securing the people, in protecting the people, in delivering welfare to the people. That is the meaning of a state. Any deviation from this is that a state is becoming failing or it has failed. And we are not far from Nigeria is failing. And that is why people are calling for Trump. But if anybody should come for Trump, it should come from the helpless Nigeria that are not protected, not the overfed and those corrupt system that has been ruled by the same elite calling for protection from international community or from Trump.
All right.
Nigeria needs protection. Nigeria needs to work with other countries, particularly United States at this material time, to strengthen our capacity for security and to crush these insurgents and the terrorist groups that have taken our country by the jugular. And if they're in the process of that, if the politicians, particularly the unruly one, need to be tamed, they should be tamed.
All right. Talking about the insecurity in Nigeria, survivors of the violent Monday attack in the secondary school in the Danko local government area of Kebbi State, they recounted the horror of the incident during which the vice principal was killed and 25 female students abducted by bandits. Now, as the eyewitnesses, they narrated the harrowing details of how the bandits operated for over an hour without resistance before fleeing into the forest with the abducted children. Now, before we go into details, I'd like to get your opinion as a Nigerian. How do you feel about this?
Well, we learn nothing. It has become a vicious circle. I told you that we have outsourced governance. We prioritize the things that are not necessary, and we leave that the important things that we should do as government undone. And that is how we have gotten to this level. I said it that at the threshold of the Tinubu administration, it should have prioritized bringing Nigeria together, caring about welfare and security of Nigeria, rather than this imposition of tax regime, raking in money from hapless poor people that has further decimated them and making the country a veritable pool for recruitment for violence. And that is the consequences we are seeing today. What you should prioritize when you don't prioritize it, then you have a problem that ordinarily you shouldn't be having. And that is where we are today. In the midst of this, we are still politicking illegally and immorally, unnecessarily and primordially. So, what do we expect? I emphasize this, and someone like me has been shouting, I've been crying, I've been writing, I've been making suggestions, developing and supporting policies and programs that will enable us to be via of this part of Perry, but to make revenue you are making is the very corruptive environment, and those young people are coming out, young people are getting country, and it's not their priority. Politicking is their priority. Governance is their priority, and we are where we are. So we have a problem, and I've made suggestions, like I said this morning, on how President Tinubu should go about it. It's left for him to hear and listen and behave. We continue to see ourselves in the mirror of this mess that the government and the politicians have created for Nigeria.
Well, Mr. Barrow, the Senate is calling for recruitment of 100,000 additional troops. Now, in your assessment,
let me not cut you off. They are
really
jokers. They are jokers. Are they just knowing that? I said they are jokers. Do you plan for what when you are at the center of battle? What impact will that 100,000 make now? That is a long-term program. Are they just knowing that Nigerians have not enough soldiers to fight? When they are consumed by personal enados, funding their inanities, corruptively enriching themselves at the expense of Nigeria, what were they expecting? Those people are jokers. So they will now recruit 100,000 in the midst of this, suddenly, urgently, and without checking the backgrounds of those you are recruiting. Is it as easy as that? When you are already in the battlefront? So there are some categories of people that I don't listen to. If I have my way, Nigeria should be having a unicameral legislation. One house, either House of Representatives or we keep the Senate. We don't need bicameral. And because they are not even ordinary messenger. has contributed more to Nigerian progress than those who call themselves legislators, feeding fat on the country, getting fat and sleeping and sitting on the ship that is sinking.
Well,
so why should they just wake up and begin to pretend as if they care?
Well, so a new, recently the chief of army staff was changed, and yet since then several major security incidents have occurred. So, is it fair to evaluate the service chief's performance this early, or do you think it has to do with long-standing systematic problems?
It's not whether it's fair. I'm not assessing these new people now, but that is not to say that they have not been part of it. The current CDS was the chief of army staff. So that I'm not even assessing them. I'm looking at a way, like what I suggested early this morning, is for them to be adequately resourced and adequately motivated. Adequately resourced means that they should be, if there is need for crash training, it should be given. If there is need for you to mix them with external bodies from the United States, from any part of the country, whether you call them mercenary, whether you call them dog of war, let us get them so that they work together and we're able to defeat these urges of violence that is rampantly consuming our country. And of course, beyond that, what type of technology? Is it not possible for people to even sit at the National Defense Headquarters here in Abuja and be monitoring what is going on in Sambisa Forest? What have we done with technology? What have we acquired? How many have we trained? Where are they? The other day, Trump in the Oval Office was monitoring what was going on in Gaza. Are we caused as a people, as a country? Corruption is a disaster that we need to engage in this country. And those who make it disastrous are sitting at the ends of affairs of Nigeria, whether in the executive or the legislators, or even this soldier, this military. They have committees supervising them. What are they telling them? Why are they engaging them? What are they suggesting? Somebody that knows nothing about military, you make him defense minister. And of course, what is he defending as a minister? What ministerial responsibility can he understand? What policy is he bringing in? Even persons that have been indicted are accused of being part of Boko Haram, of not being with this most notorious kidnapper bandit. What is the name again? They accuse him of that, yet he's a minister of defense. So what are we saying? Even if the accusation is not correct, even if the accusation by his governor in Zamfara is not correct, why don't you, for the sake of being on the safe side, must he be there? If you want to make him minister, must he go to defense? Those are problems that Tinubu is having. He has a lot of dead wolves. He should shake them out. He should dissolve his cabinet and form a wartime cabinet that understand the mood of Nigeria, the needs of the people, the needs for protection and security, and unleash them on this military, rather than one that is causing destruction and disgracing Nigeria up and down in the midst of plain politics, like the Minister of FCT and his court, and in the PDP too.
Well, the Nigerian government has continued to, call this armed group bandit rather than terrorists. So, at what point does banditry overlap with terrorism?
That is part of our incompetence. That is part of our incompetence. There is no difference. Terrorists, they have agenda, they have a program, and they want to achieve it with extremely violent method. Whether the motive is political, whether the motive is religious, whether the motive is even doctrinal, whether the motive is on indoctrination. That is what we call they are terrorists. A terrorist is defined by the motive for committing extreme violence. And these people, when they come, when they kill, they shout. Some of them are Islamic fundamentalists. And of course, they own up to that. And we must characterize them with what they have called themselves. They are terrorists. There's nothing called banditry. It's only in Nigeria we begin to nomenclaturalizing nothing. And it makes a conflict analysis to be elusive, to be mere illusory, when you don't fittingly describe the type of things that crisis or conflict that is going on in your within your borders.
So,
those are political statements, and they don't fit it into the Nigerian anti-terrorism act as defined terrorism. They don't fit into global terrorism definition. So they are terrorists.
So what will change if they are officially labeled as terrorists rather than bandits?
Okay.
What will change if they are officially labeled as terrorists rather than
Nothing
bandits?
will change. What has changed? What has changed? Are we not approaching the thing the same way? Nothing will change. What are those that have been classified as terrorists? Nothing has changed. Are they not kidnapping, relooting, and destroying? What is the name of this? Where hundreds of girls were carted away before. They have gone there to several times. So what are we talking about? And there's nothing will change. Nothing change. If you call Nigeria a judge of magistrate, nothing is changing. Nothing, no justice anywhere. That is what we have in it. It has become a definition of Nigeria. Except we move from this commitment to indolence, commitment to wayward governance, commitment to that is like I said, country.
It's like why the Nigerian government strongly denies it.
Why should we struggle with definition? The fact that there is generalized violence does not mean that there is no genocide. Then nobody should be in doubt with that. Genocide, what genocide is not what is defined by dictionary. Genocide has been defined by the 1977 convention, and it has been equally expatiated by the additional by the 1949 convention, and it has been expanded by the additional protocol. I mean, Geneva Convention of 1949 define what genocide is. Additional protocol of 1977 expanded the definition of what genocide is, and the law of armed conflict has established what connotes genocide. What is going on in Nigeria within the generalized conflict? We have genocide there. We have genocide. Act of genocide is being committed. The one that happened yesterday in Kwara State, where CAC church was deliberately attacked, people killed, pastors taken away, and what do you call that? Is it genocide? Means that you are targeting a specific group of people with peculiar characteristics. The characteristic could be that they are Christians, or they are Muslim, or that they are Igbo, or that they are Yoruba, or because of their ethnic inclination. It could even be political, provided that you are targeting a specific group for extermination, or for you to pollute them one way or the other in order to destroy their identity. That is genocide. So we have let us be clear. The fact that we have generalized violence does not mean that there is no genocide. Genocide is committed even in the context of war, and it's a law. The genocide is not only committed within war; it can even be committed during the time of peace by the choice that government make in protecting one group at the expense of the other.
Okay.
While exposing the other group to threat or danger.
Well, since the attacks and continues despite new military leadership and different changes, now what specific reforms do you think the CDS should prioritize in order to restore the confidence in the armed forces Is it the 100,000 additional men, or what do you think they need to change?
That is not what you call reform. Reform means that, okay, like now, yesterday they said that, okay, somebody intercepted General Bass communication with his, they leak it to them. So what if you recruit 100 people? Nigeria, the world is not talking of the number count, particularly for soldiers on the ground. But then technology is the ultimate now. I just told you that President Trump was in Oval Office and was watching what was going on in Gaza. Do you know thousands of kilometers from Washington to that place? And here we can't even monitor what is going on in Maiduguri, where our soldier is dropped. There is no drone to even locate him and to connect with his network or anything at a particular time, or even to neutralize possible communication from opposing power, like the criminals that eventually, that allegedly intercepted his communication. So what are we fighting? Is that how to fight war? The more number you have without equipment, without adequate motivation, without paying them well, without making them to live well, without competent insurance, without assuring their children and their wife of tomorrow, if there is unforeseen circumstances that take away their breadwinner, without making technologies available to them, then there's nothing you are doing. It's not that is what you can urgently do now. And you can crash, there are people you can crashly train on that, particularly for those in the signal, for those in the Air Force, for those in the Navy, if they have to be drafted to the war in the north and across the country right now. So it depends on what Nigeria understands by facing terror, fighting terrorism. And fighting terrorism now is done mostly by technology. And of course, in some cases, you have planes that are unmanned fighter jets that can go there and deal with them. And if there is, even if the plane is eventually brought down, you don't record casualty. That is what I'm saying. And not people profiling a cake solution, sitting down at the National Assembly, and they think they have made contribution to exigency that is outrightly necessary, important, and of course, firmly now.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Aguero, for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Before we wrap up, let's give a shout out to the men out there, the strong ones, the soft ones, the stubborn ones, the I am fine ones, and also the quiet ones. Today, we celebrate your strength, your struggles, your growth, and the ability to carry the world on your shoulders, even when you pretend it's nothing. We know men, they shoulder a lot of responsibilities quietly. So, to every man listening, we are not just celebrating your achievements, we are saying you matter, you are appreciated, and let's be honest, the world will be a lot less interesting without you. So, happy International Men's Day. Now, this is what we have to draw the curtain today. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki. Do what to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. You can also visit our website, www.vanguardindia.com. Have a lovely Wednesday.